Hey, it's Curly, and these are fights from the Drop Zone. The Drop Zone is the name of a Discord server that I run myself for, of course, Cardfight, Vanguard, and sometimes we do locals in this Discord. And here are some fights from our recent one. First things first here, we're going to have Granfia versus Rotovisor here. Once I saw these in the bracket, I really wanted to try and get a game of each of these for this video, but as it turns out, they ended up facing each other, so that really helps out. They start out here having a pretty simple turn between each other in the early game here, just being able to ride up, going to their Vanguard here. The Granfia player is going to be able to ride to their Grade 2 Vanguard and get the plant token from the Grade 1, because it is the reverse of the Roar line, but they are going to be able to play the oranges and get an additional token after it's being played, because it gives you a token on place and then it gives you one in battle phase. So amass a pretty healthy board here, but the Granfia player is not able to actually push as much damage as they maybe would have liked to, considering that the Rotovisor player is able to block most of the attacks and only take a single point of damage. They're going to go ahead and ride into their Grade 2 and then search their deck for that Nova Grappler Arena card, which is going to allow them to, whenever any of their units attack, or I think it's a Rotovisor unit, I don't actually remember, but I think it's whenever any of their units attack, they can actually give it the ability that if the attack hits, they can choose to either counter charge or energy charge too, which they're going to go ahead and use the energy here, and also use the Vulnerate here to put itself into soul. Look at top 5 and search for a Grade 2 or greater unit or a set order from among them. They're going to go ahead and get that Event Robust, which they can use to get another Nova Grappler Arena. The Granfia player here is going to be able to use their Nubilis token thanks to the skill of the Granfia, then Soul Blast again here to get an additional 2 tokens thanks to the Farm and Pumpkin. Then they're going to go ahead and play down the Dianta from hand, Counter Blast 1, bring back the oranges that was actually attacked into the previous turn by the Rotovisor player in order to actually be able to get another 2 tokens. One on place and another one at the start of battle, which is pretty nifty, making that Nubilis in the back row center really big. They're going to go ahead and swing here with their front row and then swing in here with the Vanguard boosted by the Nubilis token, which is probably 50 something, I don't know. They're not going to check anything aside from this front, which is really nice, but none of that momentum is going to matter thanks to this darn Overtrigger, which is going to make the Rotovisor player 100 million, and there's no way to break through that without your own Overtrigger. Sure wish the Overtrigger was only like 100,000 or something reasonable, but Either way, I should say, we're going to go ahead and ride into the Granzel Rotovisor here, which is going to activate the skill of the Grade 2, which allows you to look at the top 7 for either a Grade 3 Rotovisor or an Arena card, which we're, I think, going to hit the Arena and then play it from hand. Play down the Rotovisor Mechanic, I believe it's called, and then we're going to, or it's like a Fluent Mechanic or something like that, but either way, we're going to Counter Blast 1 here for the Event Robust, get a Arena, the 3rd one, so we're going to be able to play that next turn. Unfortunately, we can't accelerate the playing of set orders in his deck at this moment, so we have to wait until turn 4 for this deck to really go live. Now, either way, we can actually do a lot of things here. I don't know why I keep saying neither way. I don't know what is wrong with me. Something about seeing Granfia and Rotovisor is just making my brain not work. We're going to be able to use the Bull Run here to add a card to hand, and then swing with the Event Robust and use the skill of the Nova Grappler Arena, so if this attack hits, we can go ahead and counter charge. And they're going to actually swing into the Dianta to make sure that attack hits, so they can actually get the counter charge here for the Granzel Rotovisor. After the battle that these unit attacks, you can go ahead and counter blast to draw 1 card and choose units equal to the number of arenas you have in your set order zone and restand them. So now this mechanic is going to be able to swing in again, as well as this Event Robust that still has the 5k that was given to it by the mechanic. The Granfia player is able to hold off against all this onslaught here and only seem to, I think, only take 1 damage from all of that, which is pretty good. But unfortunately, I believe this list does not play Persona Ride. Otherwise, the Persona Ride would have been kind of nice here, but it is sort of a thing with this build where it's a lot more of an aggressive build and you're trying to end the game before you even need to Persona Ride as much. But since we didn't see the Rosarium Fairy or any of those early game aggro pieces that we really needed to really push, especially in that big first Grade 3 turn, we don't really get to do that, especially also thanks to the overtrigger. So things are not in favor here for the Granfia player, but they're going to be able to swing in here, hit the critical trigger, and they're able to power up that oranges as well as finally get that Rosarium Fairy. But as you see here, the Rotovisor player is going to be able to heal because both players here are at 2 damage, so that is basically going to be only 1 damage, which kind of really sucks. And they're also going to be able to get the damage buffer here, but they're going to go ahead and swing in here with the Luster Impact here, as well as Soul Blast 1 to restand it. Oh, sorry, Soul Blast wants to draw, I should say, given the Vanguard's power. But they're going to remove the gauges to restand it and also give it 15k. They're going to go ahead and try and swing in here, put a little bit of more damage on the Rotovisor player, but that is not going to be the case. They're going to be able to guard, probably due to the little bit of damage that they were able to get between using all of those energy cyclers and also the Bullrins to thin out the deck here. We're going to see a Persona Ride come through, and then we're going to see some double Bullrin coming through. The Mechanic's going to get 5k, and I bet Robust is going to get a nice 10k. So we got a nice distribution of power coming through here. We're going to activate the skill of one of the Nova Grappler Arenas here, so that if its attack hits, we can go ahead and either Energy Charge or Counter Charge here. They're going to actually choose to Energy Charge and then Energy Blast to draw 1 and give their Robust an additional 5k here. The Granfia player is going to have to take this, go to 4, and then we're going to see the Rotovisor come in here, Granzel Rotovisor here. And the Granfia player is actually going to be able to guard this with a 2 to pass, which is thankfully not going to get broken through due to the fact that no triggers were checked. But since we have 3 or more Nova Grappler Arenas, or I think just Arena cards in the set order zone, we can actually stand 3 units this time around. And I believe your front row also gets an additional 5k, or all your units get 5k. I think it's just your front row gets 5k, or the units you stood get 5k. I don't remember. But we're going to be able to restand here. Also, the back row Bullrin, which is going to be able to boost here and now actually activate its skill to look at the top 5 to get another Bent Robust, get that out of the deck and thin the deck a little bit, and then swing with this much heavier column here with the Bent Robust. But thanks to that overtrigger that was in the hand for the Granfia player, they're actually able to guard. We're going to see another activation of the Bullrin here, adding another energy cycle. I feel like we've seen all 4 of them at this point. But Granfia player has their back against the wall already at 5 here, trying to see if they can make something happen here. They're going to go ahead and Piney play the Rosarium Fairy by attributing that Luster Impact, getting themselves 2 tokens, then playing the Darian behind that to get an additional token, and also Counterblast and draw at the start of the battle phase. So we got a nice fat Nubilis token once again, which is going to be able to get its power copied from the Rosarium Fairy, which is really good, which is why if we had that earlier, if we could have restood that, we would have been in a really good spot. They're going to push the Rotovisor player here to 4 damage here, and unfortunately not be able to check anything on the Granfia swing, as it was just double lean, double blank. But we can at the very least remove 3 gauges in order to restand the Rosarium Fairy and swing in here with the very weak orange column on the left here, and then swing with the Rosarium Fairy column, which is going to be extremely big, which is actually going to then hit. But unfortunately they are going to get another heal. Not that it matters because it was 4 and 5, so the heal does not activate, but they are able to stop any additional attacks if that were to happen. So thankfully they attacked in that pattern, otherwise the orange side would not be able to attack. But given that the last draft checks did not really net anything for the Granfia player, the Rotovisor player is just going to be able to here to simply Persona Ride, swing in with the Bent Robust, swing in, and that's going to be the game. Have another match here. It's actually going to be the final round of this tournament. Now we have Lemme on the left side versus Raziel on the right side here. This is actually the match sort of to determine who ends up winning the entire tournament. These were the 2 top players at the time. However, it's a little bit tricky because I did 5 rounds, which was technically an extra round given the number of players that I had. I think 10 players. So because of that, we ended up with a first place that actually did lose a match, which is kind of interesting, but it just allowed everyone to play more games in the end, and that's all that really matters. Either way, the Raziel is going to go first, the Leonard is going to go second. Leonard is here, is going to be able to get an amazing turn, able to get the tokens and double Rosarium Fairy, as well as a draw trigger to be able to draw an extra card to fill up their hand from that regression, but also just make it so that this is pretty hard to guard. So the Raziel is instantly going to go to 3 damage here, losing one of their Saragons in the damage zone as well. They're going to be able to ride here with the grade 2, get the soul charge, call out the grade 1, and then use the wisdom order here in order to counterblast 1 and call out 2 cards from their hand. They're actually going to call the Tetrafault and a critical trigger. Then use the skill of the Tetrafault here to Soul Blast 1. Look at the top 5 in order to call out a Nibiris, or I don't know, I just end up calling this guy Nipple because I don't really know his name. So they're going to call out the Nipple here in the back row, and then they're going to go ahead and switch that around so that they can actually have some decent columns here. They're going to attack with the Vanguard first. They do play fronts, but they're going to not check any of that. The Leonard is going to go ahead and take that and put the shooter into damage, the enemy cycler. They're going to attack with the Tetrafault here, which is just going to be the 15, while the other side's actually going to be, I think, 18. I don't think the grade 1 actually gets power till later on. So the Leonard is going to be able to guard here with the Broccoli, which is actually going to get the plus 5k shield since they do have a token on their side, and then we're going to use another critical trigger to guard the other column. So the Leonard player is looking really good going into this grade 2 turn, where they can actually continue their aggression here. So they're going to discard the draw trigger, presumably the one that they drive checked here, to go into the Leonard in grade 2, who I don't remember the name of, but it is kind of interesting. To be honest, if they had gone into the Aurora grade 2, it really wouldn't have done anything for them. But they're going to go ahead and activate the Mythy Habitat in order to look at top 7 and get a Luster Dragon from that, which is going to make their columns even bigger, because the Luster Dragon is going to be able to get a 5k boost thanks to there being, I think, 2 or more grade 1s or less units in the back row. So it's going to be a 15k and can also boost. The Rosarian Fairies here, however, cannot use their power, their skills to gain power, so I actually would have probably kept the Rosarian Fairy in the back here and left the token in the front, because your opponent can actually attack into the Rosarian Fairy that's on the right side closer to the deck. But they're actually going to go ahead and swing in here with the Vanguard and not check any trigger here, but the Raziel is going to be able to guard that either way here. Then they're going to swing in with the Rosarian column. They're going to go ahead and guard that with a PG, which is kind of huge, that they had to actually do that here because they didn't want to take that attack. But they're going to be able to check a heal trigger here, which will allow them to at least stabilize and go down to 3. They're going to go ahead and discard the Biscotti to ride into Raziel. Go ahead and Energy Blast here to draw, and then be able to call something back from their drop, and they're going to call that Saragon. So they're going to go ahead and ride into their Raziel here and go ahead and use the Wisdom Order to counter blast 1. And they are going to draw 2 and then call out 2 cards. They're going to call out a Biscotti and an Obligator Dragon. The Obligator Dragon, his effect can only be played from hand, but I think it still counts as being played from hand because you do add it to your hand, then call something out from your hand, which is why Tetrafault can go off. But they're going to go here and just go to battle, swing with the Saragon, whose effect actually does not activate because of the more rear guards, but activates because you have orders. So they're going to go ahead and attack with that. The Leonard player is going to guard, but the Saragon is still going to go off, so they're going to look at the top 2 cards of their deck, put one into hand, put one on the bottom of the deck there. Then they're going to swing in with Raziel, use his skill to counter blast 1. Since they have 3 cards in damage, they can call cards whose grades are equal to or less than 3. So they're going to call out the Nipple and the Saragon yet again here. And their drive check is just going to be just about nothing. The Unarmed player is going to take this go to 2 damage here. And then they're going to swing in with the Obligator column here, which isn't really much. It's just an 18k. But judging from sort of how Leonhorn can go, from waves of super offensive to super not offensive here, we'll see if they're going to be able to guard this. They're going to throw down the heal trigger here, and that is going to be able to be enough to guard the attack. And then finally, we're going to have the last attack here coming in from the Nipple and from the Saragon. It does get powered up since it was called by a Vanguard's effect. So it is going to be, I think, like 33 here to the 10k Vanguard. I think you should probably just take this since you're only at 2 damage. Speaking for the Leonard side, they are going to go ahead and take this, and it's going to be a Rosarian Farron, which doesn't really matter because they already have 2 on board, and you really only need 2 of them. With that, they're going to use the skill of the Saragon to look at the top 2, put a card from among them to hand, put another one to the bottom, and then they're going to use the skill of the Nibble to draw one, look at the top card, and put that on the bottom of the deck. The Leonine player is going to go ahead and start their turn here. They got 3 damage here, but they got pretty much all they need here. So they're going to go ahead and discard the Brave Shooter, which is going to allow them to Energy Blast here and draw a card. But if they'd like, they can also use the skill of their Grade 2, which allows them to Soul Blast 1 and take a Grade 1 or less, I believe it is, from your drop and call it, which they're going to go ahead and do. And they're actually going to call the Starter Aurora, because it does have 1k more than the Plant Token, which I guess is fair enough. They're going to go ahead and Energy Blast 3 here to draw from the Energy Cycler. And then, let's see, they're going to Counter Blast 1 here to draw from Leonine skill. They will have to either discard or call something. They're going to go ahead and discard a Critical Trigger. And then it looks like we're just about to go into battle, as the Luster Dragon is going to get its 5k, since we do have Grade 1 or less in the back row. And we're going to see here the Soul Blast and the discard from the Leonine skill in order to boost with the entire front row and get an additional drive here. So there's going to be 3 drives, huge numbers, but the Raziel is going to go ahead and guard with the Overtrigger that they managed to get in hand, but it didn't really matter too much because we didn't check any offensive triggers here. It's just a draw trigger from the Leonine side. They're going to restand their back row here, and then the Rosarium Fairy is going to be able to get the power from the Luster Dragon, which gives it an extra 15 here. So this column is going to be, I think, somewhere in the 30s, because 8 plus 6 is 14 plus 24, so this is like 34, something like that, 30 something, right? Either way, the Raziel is going to end up taking this. The second attack here is going to be a lot bigger than that, but I think they end up PGing that attack or guarding. I think that's a PG and drop that they discard and crit for. They're going to go ahead and ride here. I think they might have Persona Ride. Sorry, I was too busy looking at their drop. They're going to go ahead and Soul Blast here in order to activate the Divine skill, pulling out any critical triggers that they have in a drop here. It looks like it's going to be a total of just 3 that are going to go back into the deck, and then they're going to shuffle. They're going to be able to get an extra drive this turn, but on top of that, for the rest of the game, if they damage check any trigger, it will count as a heal trigger. I think only specifically if it's the 6 damage, or I think it's just in general, right? They're going to go ahead and attack here with the Obligator Dragon with the column that has the startup behind it. So that is not huge here, but the Leonine player is going to take an Atlantis and 2 damage. Then the Raziel here is going to attack. They're going to counterblast 1. I believe they have 4 to 5 cards in damage here, so they can call out basically whatever they want here, but they're going to just choose to call out the dog and the Biscotti here. Use the skill to look at the top cards and rearrange them, and they're going to go ahead and drive check a critical trigger, give the power to the Tetrafall, kill the front, give the power to the front row, and then check another crit here, which is going to give, I guess, the crit in power somewhere between the Biscotti and the Tetrafall here. Then after that, we're going to see what looks like the Tetrafalt here attack. It is going to be able to get the 10k because the opponent is on grade 3. The Leonine player actually does take this and ends up hitting a heal trigger. Then the Raziel is going to attack with the Biscotti, which is just as big here. But I think we should be able to guard this. Hopefully, yep, with the PG. So well played from the Leonine, able to get that heal trigger, save the PG, and then be able to guard the other big attack after all those drive checks and those triggers being checked here. And then we're able to survive, going to this next turn, going to the Leonine Divinez here, draw 1 from the skill of Leonine, and now we basically have 6 disgustingly huge attacks coming through. Maybe not 6 huge attacks, but 6 attacks, most of them being huge, with the Leonine Vivaces being huge, as well as these Rosarians possibly being extremely big, because the Rosarium column that has the Luster Impact Dragon, that's at least, what, 23? No, that's 38. But they're going to go ahead here and overcall the starter here, Counterblast 1, to call down the Broccoli and actually draw 1 from that, and then overcall that with the promo here, which is going to allow you to Soul Blast 1 if you have the Vivants either in hand or as your Vanguard, and then you can choose something from your drop and call it out. And they're going to go ahead and call out the grade 1 from the right line of Aurora, since again it's a little bit stronger than the token, so it just gives you that little bit of extra power. I don't know if it really matters, but hey, it might have in the end here. And then since they managed to get grade 1s, 2 grade 1s back in the back row, that is going to be able to allow the Illustrious Dragon to get the 15k as well as the boost here. They're going to swing in here with the Rosarium Fairy, boosted by the new grade 1 that they played, then also with the other Rosarium Fairy column here, and they're going to then just take that, the Razorel player, go to 5 here. It's going to be a Nobias, no triggers there. They're going to swing in with the Leonor Vivace. It's going to use all of its rear guards to boost for this giganormous number here, and let's see if the Razorel has a PG here, because I mean, regardless of what's being checked here, this is going to be game, right? So they are going to have to just take this here, and it is going to be no triggers checked, but of course no heal trigger or critical trigger or anything of the sort checked. So that's going to be the game. Well, that's going to be the video. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll try and keep doing these in the future for each of the tournaments that we have over in the Drop Zone. If you want to join, you can scan with the QR code that's on screen there, or you can take a look at the description and you'll find a link to the Discord there. But till next time, take care of yourselves and each other, play Vanguard, and have yourselves a damn good one.